Welcome back to another video. Today we're doing more turbo stuff. So, I've been trying to figure out how to do the return line on this big ass turbo, and it came with the wrong size bolts. It has the right size for the actual piece, right? But it had the wrong size bolts for the threads that are in the turbo. So, you know, easy to go to Lowe's, find the right bolts. So I found the right bolt thread pitch, but then they were just a little bit too long. So I went back again to Lowe's today and I got same thing, just tiny bit shorter, and that's the right thing and it fits. So I just tested it to make sure that it fits, and now I'm gonna try to like actually put everything on. So this will go in there, the two bolts will go in there. There's a tiny little gasket right here that will go in there. Camera angles, here we go. That'll go in there underneath this, just like that. And then I'll do some the wrap on the ORB to AN. So this is, it's a 12 ORB to 12 AN. It's a big Johnny. And I'll show you how that lines up. It's actually the hole on the turbo drain is probably a 10. And I looked into getting a maiden mount, so I might upgrade to that later. But it's hard to decide whether you need a mid frame or a large frame because of the sizing of all this stuff. So anyways, let me show you how all this goes. Okay, so here's the drain fitting that's on, and you can see like the inner hole is definitely smaller than the actual hole here. It'll focus. So yeah, this is a 12 ORB and that's probably a 10, but better to have more flow than not enough, I guess. Just a drain, so who cares? So yeah, now we'll have to get this fitting in there just properly, and we'll go from there. Okay, so got stuff all mounted up. Actually, I had to take off the bottom part here and screw in the ORB to AN adapter to this and then put the whole thing on here. So I had another issue. It's such a massive fitting that the next part that goes on, you can thread like one, maybe two threads. Come here. And then it starts to hit the side of the turbo here. So it's confusing, but I feel like the easiest way is I want to mock up everything. For right now, for mock up, I'll use this for distance, cut the AN line, make that, blah, blah, blah. Then just take off the hot side to tighten this thing on here. And then I guess you have to do the same thing if you ever take it off. So yeah, I feel like this should have been a 10. Just to make it fit a little bit easier, you could have tightened it on the turbo. Maybe that's a common issue, but hey, here we go. Okay, so next thing to show here, they provided two different gaskets for the turbo flange. And I like this one better because it actually has the centerpiece here for the divided flange. So I'm not gonna use that one. I'm gonna go test fit this one here, see how it does. And that fits like a glove. So, and these are those really fancy ARP bolts for the turbo. The ones that came with the kit, once again, did not fit. So these were 40 doll hairs, but really nice. Have the Allen key to tighten them into the bottom, and then a really nice nut to go on top of that. So now we'll put the turbo on and see how it goes. That's a jack. And I tell you, turbos don't look that crazy heavy until you're picking it up. And you realize it's a lot bigger than you expected. That's what she said. Let's see. Now, I want to clock that forward a little bit more. Yes, that's better. So I just have the clamp on the cold side loose so I can clock everything. And yes, I like that. I feel like I feel like I'm gonna want to have this section straight up and down and not angled, but also that little, yeah, that might be hard to get to once we rotate it in. We'll see, I think it'll be possible. I'll just straighten this out. I'll loosen the hot side and we'll go from there. All right, so this is actually going better than I expected. So whenever you clock the turbo, I'm trying to get light in here, just the right spot. Whenever you clock the turbo just right and you put it straight up and down instead of facing out the other way, the turbo has a little bit more space on the hot side. You can actually get that in there. So I'm putting the bolts on the turbo. These are those really nice. I can't say enough about these bolts. I didn't feel like paying the money initially, and I got them and I was like, wow, okay, 40 bucks, these super nice ARP bolts holding the turbo on. Like, okay, that's money well spent. Okay, so just snugging that down there. And then, here's all my stuff. Okay, look at this. Just barely fits, but you can actually turn it on all the way. Okay, cool. Big boy, 12 AN flange. Now the question is, which way do you clock that thing? You pop it out this way and go like that. I think that's the move. And I got this clocked all the way down, like turned this way down as much as I can. It's not totally straight up and down. It's just a tiny bit facing forward like this. But it allows this to go this way to that. I think that's the move. Yeah. Then it'll just be this distance here for the line. So I'm gonna start marking that up. Okay, more progress. So I put on the turbo oil feed here and then around the side like that, all the way down to L sandwich plate, which is kind of hard to see, but there it is. So I like that's away from the header here, being held nicely out of the way by the bent ABS lines because turbo is massive. We'll fix that soon, but for now, yeah, it works. Stays out of the way. And then, how does this go? Ugh. I'm just mocking up the end down there, and it curves up to right here. And once this tucks in, it won't hit right here on the wastegate. So I just moved that wastegate forward. So now when you look top down, they're both like in line this way. Before this one here was kind of clocked back here. So, okay, now we start making AN lines. Okay, so I have the turbo back off the car again, and I'll explain why here. I got the hot side off, and there's the V-band for it. So this is the cold side with the midsection, and here you can see the return. And hey, look, there's boost. If I never showed it before, it's kind of cool. The turbo has a little like nameplate with all the info on it right there. How about that? I never finished putting this in properly. So the oil feed here, I'm just taking this out, inspecting that, and I'll wrap this in some the Telfa, whatever, white tape stuff, so it doesn't drain, so it doesn't leak. And I'll put that back on, but the hot side hits this whenever you're trying to spin it around, so I'm gonna put this on. Okay, so here it's all wrapped. I try to go in the direction of which way it's gonna get turned in so it doesn't buckle and come off. So here's, come on little buddy. There we go. And then I'll just tighten this in all the way now. Now that nothing's hitting, but I do want it to face the right direction. So let's see, this direction is the direction I need it in. I don't think it's gonna make it another turn on that. It's pretty solid right there. So that's where it stays. And that'll be the setup. Feed on this side and drain on that side. Now let's put the hot side back on, put it back in the car. All right, so I don't know how y'all do AN lines, but what I've learned works for me is take a vise, put that bad boy in there, get tape on it, cut that hoe. So don't mind me with my ghetto ass glasses and my headlamp, but I'm cut. Okay, so I got it in the vise here with the top just a little bit above that and just started the threads. I don't have fancy AN wrenches. I don't know, I just have regular ones. I'm spending a ton of money on it. So I just wrapped the wrench and then slowly start to tighten down. And I'll just keep going all the way until this thing's all the way seated. I don't know how I learned how to do this. I think me and my buddy Jeremy were working on AN lines for his car. He's got a Evo 10 and he wanted to do oil cooler, so we just started slowly figuring it out. They all turned out really good, no leaks, nothing like that. And yeah, AN lines are always such a nice clean look. Definitely enjoy AN lines for that reason. And you can custom make them to whatever length as well. So I'll keep tightening and I'll show you when I'm done. Okay, so the line is done, and I'm not gonna lie, I got a little bit mad at it because it's really hard to get this thing on there. And it's a little bit messed up and dirty, but I will try to clean it up with a pen or something later. So this will be the bottom one. So while I was putting it on, you could tell that the portion of the AN line that goes in was getting bound up on the rubber on the inside. So I lubed it up with a little bit of the assembly lube, and that did help it spin. But even then, once you get towards the very bottom and there's like 1/4 of an inch gap in between the two, it gets pretty hard. So I ended up putting the vise on the floor and standing on it, and then putting it in here like this, and then I could pull up, and that was the most helpful because man, that was a struggle. So anyways, now I'll put it in here. Let's see if GoPro will play nice. This line up to the top. This one right down there. Okay, yep. That fits good. Okay, then I've marked up here with the old trusty Sharpie, and I want to draw it in a little bit because I don't want it to hit the wastegate here like it is right now. So with it drawn in like that, there's the mark, and I'm going to cut it and try to make that line. So wish me luck. Okay, so got the other part in the vise here, taped it off just to keep all the threads nice and tight. There's that line marking right there. Got a whole bunch left over, almost enough to make a whole other one. So here we go, we're gonna cut this thing up. I'll let you enjoy the whole process this time. Whew, got rubber in my mouth. Let's see if I clean this up a little bit more. Okay. Now, you can see pretty nice, clean cut straight across there. So, now we'll try to get it all dressed up. Okay, so this is my way for getting it all prepped. I'll blow it out after this, but just take a little bit of lube just to keep things clean, or not clean, moving whenever you're seating the part in there. Because without this, it was binding up really bad. And be careful because there's metal all around the outside. Boop. And then on this part, obviously this is going to be the bottom, like that. So this is going on, but on this part here, I want a tiny bit of lube on this, so that this part here that goes into the rubber will move smoothly. So let's set that here for a second. And the fun part, I'm trying to seat this thing on here. Oh, it's actually playing pretty nice this time. Don't want to mess up all the threads in the middle section here, but I feel like this part just takes some massaging. You kind of just have to keep moving it for a while. And I feel like twisting it helps too. I'm just waiting to see till it's seated all the way, which it is not yet. Okay, so I just shoved down like this. That was the most helpful. And now it's seated all the way up in there. So, put this bad boy in here. Come on. Stay with me. Work nicely with me. Alright, this is not going to work for the whole thing, but to seat this part, there we go. Okay, and now the threads are turning. Alright, I want this one to be decently pretty, so I'm going to try the trick. We'll see if it actually does it this time. Okay, going pretty smooth for now. And of course, it'll get harder later. So, okay, so let's get into the hard part now. Just a tiny bit left to go. But yeah, I'm standing on it like this, using these like this, and pulling up. So let's check back in. I definitely already gave up on the covering it. It slips. Doesn't work very well, so not gonna be pretty, but it'll work. Oh well, that's how it goes. Okay, so the line is done. Ta-da! Have you seen my AN line? And I touched up the ends a little bit, so it is decent looking, still a little bit black. I used a touched up pen, basically. And it helps. Doesn't look perfect, but it's okay. So now, let's see if everything fits in here. Come join me on an adventure. Okay, so let's turn that little buddy. Okay, something like maybe a little bit more. I feel like these end fittings, you have to line everything up just right. It does not want to be clocked a little bit wrong. It wants to be perfect. Once you get it perfect, then it'll go on. Otherwise, not so much. Case in point, I'm still finishing with this thing. There we go. Right about there. Okay, let's see. Is it too short or is it just right? Oh yeah. I gotta put the camera down, but I'll be back. Okay, so wrapping up the night's work. Both the lines are done, the oil feed and the oil return. I cleaned out the oil return with some water in the house. Just poured it down there pretty much to clean it out because it was a bit icky. So I'm hanging it up in this janky way to get it to dry out before I put it back on. I just want to make sure that that was totally clean before oil starts going through that and then through the engine and everything. I used some pressurized air to clean it out first, but it just still had a little bit of gunk in there, and now it looks really nice and clean. So yeah, we'll let that dry for a while before we put it back on the car, but the feed is on here. It's looking good. The fitting's all the way tightened down. The return fitting's all the way tightened down, and we're in a lot better shape. So that's all for tonight. I'll probably end the video here, but after this, then the next stuff will be oil, fuel system. I think I want to wrap the wires that are in here with the Tesla tape, all the red stuff that's hiding in here, to clean that up. Then it'll just be on the side of the car over here. Yeah, just lots more stuff to do. The biggest thing that I can't do here, because I don't know how to weld, is at some point the car has to go off to get the intercooler mounted up, get some brackets made here for that to hang on, and then you gotta do something about all this tubing over here on the side, because this pipe right here is gonna hit this here. So I think, yeah, cut here, cut there, clock this thing down, send it out the side over there, and make a new charge pipe, and then it'll be good. But yeah, this whole having the tubular frame on the front kind of kicked me in the butt because it's made for a stock car. So anyways, more to come. Get ready. Okay, I lied about being done. We're gonna grind out this piece and let the turbo clock all the way down. So you ready for it to be loud? Let's get into this. Yeah. Okay. Not a big fan of that. Let's try like this. Yep, okay. I'm just gotta keep going. Shoot. I guess I'll put on time lapse. Okay, so a little bit more update. I just mocked up the throttle body for now. Definitely want to paint that black at some point because that's very, very silver and it stands out really bad. But down here, that bar is now cut out. And now the piping can go through, but it does not clock in the right direction. It goes the opposite direction. So I'll have to get the fabricator to redo this. Honestly, might be able to cut it like right here, flip it, and then modify it a little bit more. Maybe at that point, then it would be closer to back to where it should be. So anyways, yeah, that's all for right now. Hope you enjoy watching.